Cliftonville has gone from being one of the finest holiday places for people from London and so on. Down the road there was a Rolls Royce dealer. That's the degree of how posh Cliftonville was.
Years and years ago, when I used to travel down from London, which was our local seaside town, if you went to Cliftonville West in particular, you were going to the posh part of Thanet. It was the posh part of Margate.
Gradually, Cliftonville was drawn from being high class to being bed and breakfast for the masses. With package holidays, Margate and Cliftonville went into decline.
Cliftonville, I used to work here when I was 14. Got a full-time job over here, and yeah, it was tree-lined streets and really lovely people. But it was more of the holidays, so lots of hotels and things like that. So it was yes, you can watch it decline and really wish it hadn't, because it was a lovely area. It was beautiful.
I've seen changes. I think what's happened is become very transient, because you've got a lot of private landlords buying up properties and making them into rabbit hutches, basically cramming about 12 families into one building, whereas before these were quite gentrified homes, which is what it was known for.
The residences in that part of Cliftonville really were built for to be guest houses, hotels in the 50s and 60s, and obviously going back further than that. When you had the change, to the package holiday, all those buildings were converted into bed sits and one-room flats, with no regard given to how people were going to dispose and store their rubbish.
Fly tipping is really, it happens a lot here because it's such a quick turnaround of people. Lots of buildings with lots of rooms in them and lots of people that maybe are only here for a month or 2 months, and so people buy furniture and then they move out. You can see why there's a problem with fly tipping, because there's so many people here quite a lot of times.
Particular areas related to poverty, drug, alcohol, domestic abuse, which were all way above Kent and South East levels. And so there was a need to tackle those in those areas, Margate Central and Cliftonville West.
The task force was set up to address the needs of two key areas that we've got, Margate Central and Cliftonville West, because of the issues and the problems, the crime rates, the antisocial behaviour, all sorts of problems.
Cliftonville West has had challenges for a long time. The council took a view that actually it needed to intervene into that situation because nothing else was changing the dynamic.
The challenges we face within the community are significant in terms of housing, employment and poverty. We have about 9,000 people that live in a really highly densely populated area of about 43 different nationalities. And how do you engage effectively with such a broad sort of spectrum of individuals with individual needs?
If the task force hadn't been formed like it did, things would have got a lot worse. So you've got all these different agencies working together. I think there are about 18 agencies now: police, fire, Kent Fire and Rescue, social services, health. You've got Porchlight who deal with homeless people. You've got DWP, a whole cross-section of agencies, and they work collectively together.
Margate Task Force, one of the unique processes that we do as a multi-agency team is deliver street-level engagement. Part of that engagement is identifying what the community needs are, but also doing that environmental improvements put in place.
Task Force have been really great as well because they're really friendly. So if they've got an issue, you can talk to them about it.
So go out and check buildings together. They will actually say to people, have you got any problems that you want to talk to us about? It takes the sort of stress off the people, because the task force will then go to whoever their landlord is. They can find landlords for certain things if their flats aren't up to standard, and some of the landlords have had £15,000–16,000 fines on one flat.
When they're out about on the streets, if they do a knock on the door when there's a problem with the home, they can get that addressed quickly, but they also look at health, they look at whether they're getting the right benefits, whether there's issues maybe with schooling, the whole bundle. So the task force has been really, really important.
It's up the quality, it's shifted the baseline of the lowest quality flats, it's moved it all up. So I think they've done a lot of good work.
The agencies, as much as they could get out there on the streets and talk to residents in the way that they were doing with the street wing, there were still barriers because they were agencies.
I was first told about Margate and this particular part of Margate, say about 5 or 6 years ago. Andy Scott Clark, DPH, the Director of Public Health, who said, do you know what, Hazel, C2 is brilliant, but there's no way it will work in Margate. And he told me about the Margate Task Force, which I thought were fabulous. Up to 20 different agencies who were all co-locating and working together. And I thought, fabulous, that's exactly how it should be. I remember saying, well, that's great, good luck to them. But if any of them would like to learn about the theory around community engagement, then by all means, send a couple along on our learning programme, and we'd have them for free.
Some of us went along to the learning programme. That was really, really important because we saw it in action elsewhere. And we took along some residents, and also obviously agencies went along to that.
The actual leader of Margate Task Force, commander in the fire service, great guy called Martin Skeet, came on one of our learning programmes.
The indicators were all there. Everything that Hazel said about this is a community in crisis. All those indicators were the same. The fact that the community was disengaged from the council. There was no confidence there. It
wasn't an estate. It isn't an estate. It's a square mile of multiple houses of multiple occupancy, very poor housing, absentee landlords. It's become a dumping ground for homeless, for people with addictions, for looked after children, because of the very cheap housing.
It may not be the same photograph of people that you look at, but the issues are the same. There are people that struggle with mental health. The crime's high, drug abuse is high, teenage pregnancy, underachievement, and the lack of confidence in the community. There was a number of things that I hadn't previously realised that you're made aware of how small things start to affect communities in how they're treated. And one of the obvious ones, it's blindingly obvious when you're told, but the free newspapers stop in difficult communities. Often they're one of the first places they stop delivering them because they get scattered around and people aren't interested in them. But that is their only source of information. They're not going to go out and buy newspapers or engage with the council or look on the council website, because that's not the way their lives are. On the course we studied complexity theory, which for me was fairly an academic subject that I wouldn't understand, but again it just made complete sense really. The fact that you make small changes in the lives of people or communities or families, and the whole thing starts to morph and move to a more positive place. It wasn't an academic spurious claim. It was grounded in something very, very logical and obvious when you do it.
I didn't think he was getting it for a couple of days, but by the end of the third day he said, you know what, I honestly think we need this in Cliftonville, I really do. Yes, we've got the task force, yes, we've got all of our agencies working together, but actually we don't know how to get that community across the threshold, how to get them all together, how to get them working as one. We started the way we always do. We asked the people that worked there and the people who lived there, can we help you? When we came to do the listening event, which is the most important event, we've got the wonderful Margate Task Force as well, So we didn't have to go in and join up all those agencies, which is what we usually do, and that takes a time, and that takes a long time really before they gel as a team to work together. But that was a gift to us.
Agencies went out with residents in pairs to go and knock on doors and have conversations, because obviously communication is the key. We
were amazed. The Margate Task Force, the residents, everybody went round and hand-delivered invites, had a conversation. The postcard invite was interpreted into the key languages that said welcome in many different languages. And so it was that personal touch, that please come and talk to us. We're going to listen to you. Come and tell us how we can make a difference in Cliftonville. It was one of the most memorable listening events I've ever done. I think between 120 and 150 people came. And it was absolutely delightful from start to finish.
I think the listening event, once that happened, it was like, whoa, this is good. It was good for residents to sit around a table with service providers and not just focus on the bad things. It was like, because Hazel starts off with saying, well, what's good? What's good? And he got residents talking to each other about what's good, which was nice to see, and they enjoyed talking about that, because the more they spoke about it, the more they realised that actually there are some good things, but there's also some bad things. And when we had the listening event and the feedback came out, a percentage of what was in that feedback, obviously dog fouling is always number one everywhere, but it was waste. And the waste issues are exceptionally bad here, they really are. Obviously when there's fly tipping and stuff, it makes a place look bad, it sets off a chain reaction, people don't respect their properties, it affects health, antisocial behaviour, there's a whole knock-on effect. And I think the residents were surprised at how many of them were all saying the same things.
And that was absolutely what we knew then was impacting negatively on their health the most. They knew it and we knew it. And it wasn't what we expected to hear. Certainly the Margate Task Force hadn't expected to hear that it was rubbish on the streets and it was dog fouling and fly tipping and overflowing rubbish bins. They'd expected it to be antisocial behaviour and drug related issues.
And it was clear from that second meeting, the sort of the feedback session, that there was, from that 150 people in the meeting, that there would be 5, 6, 7 people that would step forward and start to form that committee or that group of people that would drive this forward.
That's the power of listening. And I've learnt that when you listen to a community, it will always tell you exactly what it needs to heal itself and to make the people that live there well.
It wasn't long after that they come up with, calling themselves ABC, A Better Cliftonville, doing a logo and starting to do some activities. I think we had a Christmas party, so there was positive things that started to happen, and that was really important. The fact that we hadn't just gone to them, spoken to them, got some information and cleared off and done nothing. That there was something coming out of this.
Other smaller groups in the area as well. So some of the smaller groups weren't doing so well, and they lack of volunteers and things like that. With ABC coming in, it actually reinforced the work that they've done, because it's not to wipe out the work they've done, it's to celebrate all the work that's gone in. Be an umbrella for all those organisations, so if they needed help or support, they could actually come to ABC, join ABC or whatever. But it also gave ABC and the residents a bigger voice with people like the council, with Margate Task Force, so that if they've got an issue they can discuss it as a group and not, lots of voices, bigger voice than one person.
ABC also sits around a table where they have agency members, so you have somebody who works with the elderly, you have somebody who works with Kent Fire and Rescue, you have somebody who works with the Waste Department, somebody from the council, somebody who deals with mental health. So because ABC has those people on their committee or people that come to the meetings, you basically get all these people who complain 15, 30, 20 times about something, and you kind of pull it all in, and you can sit opposite somebody and say, right, listen, this is affecting that person's life and something needs to be done about it.
Because they're all in the same room, they haven't got to try and phone up, they just go across the room and they say to the person from social services, or the person from the police or the fire services, we've come across this problem, here it is, there's the address, that's the person that's having the problem, and it's more direct.
With the Townscape Heritage Initiative in Dolby Square, we have been able to influence how they are designing the area to deal with waste problems, children play spaces, recreational spaces for dog walkers and things. So by working with these people, we're able to fine-tune the way they're thinking, but based on surveys, questionnaires from residents, so involving the communities in decisions to make their area better.
I would say that the big win that really got ABC noticed was setting up the ABC Waste Management Forum. One of the key residents, she said, why don't we invite the Thanet District Council top dog from the Waste Department? Don't ask, don't get. Simple as that.
You could do letter drops in a street, which we did frequently, but with groups like the ABC that allowed us to get their input of what they thought would work, because, you know, obviously we don't know all the, always necessarily know the best way to go about this. We may know how to enforce and we may know how to pick the stuff up, but we, you know, education-wise, you know, we could do as much advice as anybody. So they've been very good allowing us to get avenues into the community.
The thing that amazed him was the way people were talking, and they were being open, and there were some service providers there. And he was just going around the tables, talking to people and saying, well, what are the problems? And people were being very open about it. They weren't shouting, and I think that was his biggest fear, that people were going to get angry. They were actually saying, actually, this is what's going on, this is what. But do you know what? If you did this would be better. And he found it fascinating. And he said, I'll tell you what, we should get a forum set up. It was him that initially suggested it. Yep, we're definitely doing that. And a forum, the ABC Waste Forum, set up. That was over 2 years ago now. And we meet, well, they still meet regularly, 2 week, fortnightly. And it's been consistent, especially those initial 2 years, consistently getting people from the waste team, that's the enforcement officer. We've got a couple of other members of the team, the operations manager, etc., all sitting around the table with the residents that are really going to fight this together, work together, and that has been an amazing development. It really, really has. And I would say that's the thing that ABC has really got known for.
The waste management team work alongside ABC and have brought huge change to the streets of Cliftonville. They've worked together, they've problem solved, they've solved the issues of fly tipping, they've improved hugely on dog fouling issues. It's just been marvellous to see. The streets are cleaner.
People are investing in the area, artists are moving in here, businesses are setting up here, jobs are being created, communities are being established.
Got great beaches, we have great parks that the kids can play in. There's other parks kind of at the other side of Cliftonville. Here there is an amazing community. There's always a beach clean going on, there's always like a gallery opening, there's always something happening at the community centre. There is so much stuff here for people, there is such a great network of support.
Cliftonville is coming back to life.